Hey everybody, we're back. I'm Leslie, and this is part 4 of the short story project. I have 20, oh gosh, I can't do the math now, 18 days to write a short story. And life has been lifing over here, so I am a little behind where I wanted to be, but I think we're still good. Today's Thursday, May 7th. I'm recording at 6:10 p.m. And this weekend, I have my retreat. I co-host a retreat for writers outside of Baltimore, the Ink and Magic retreat. So there are a couple of writing sessions. I might be able to get some snatches of work done, but as one of the hosts, there's a lot going on. So we will see what happens over the weekend. I am not going to expect any writing. So let's see. Let's take a look at the calendar, shall we? I'm still fine because I can draft next week and then I have the week after that to revise. And then it is due Monday, the 25th of May. So I think that's totally reasonable. So even if by the time the retreat happens or by the end of the weekend, if at least as long as I have a good solid outline, I'll be ready to start writing on Monday during my writing session, my normal writing session. So right now I have to review and remember where I was the last time. Because y'all know I don't know. Like I know, but I don't know. Because I really haven't touched it in 2 days. So here are the notes that we have. And I made some brainstorms about the stakes for the character. And I've got my character development workbook, my story development workbook, and here are the notes. Actually, let's take a look at the story development workbook and just refresh on what's going on. We did end up with, not only do I have a vision statement that I do like to check in on, I have a vision statement that I do like to check in on at the beginning of my writing sessions so that I can ground myself in what I want the story to be. So a story that feels like myth, a moment of change. Thief changes her mind and decides to let the big score go. And, I might have to tweak this based on the other decisions that I made, but overall, that's still the core. And we ended up with a log line. The daughter of a famous forger joins a crew to steal an ancient underwater artifact to repay a debt to a dangerous organization, but the aquatic guide for their journey convinces her not to. Again, I think probably we'll need some refining before we get to the end, but so what do we know about this character from the story development workbook? Because I do think I'm going to fill in a few of the fields in the character development workbook. We know what she wants. She's trying to make a name for herself, get out of her mother's shadow. She wants to steal this thing. Her original goal is to steal. And then we know that she changes her mind. And looking at the forces of antagonism, we've got, this is a world with economic inequality. There's people who are subjugated. And I know that there is this heist crew that she has been forced or coerced into joining, I guess you should say. And she wants to make a name for herself, get her own respect, get her own identity, right? So we have character name 1. I usually put the character name in there. All right. So I'm just going to leave my brainstorm notes in here. This is a tool that you can use however you want to with these workbooks. These are brainstorming. This is how I figure out the ideas. So usually I'm going through worksheets, I'm going through tools like this, and I take what I need, I generate a bunch of ideas, and I try to write in my notes file the decisions that I've made, or have some place where you put the actual decisions that you've made. Maybe that's a notes file. Maybe it's a story Bible. For this story, I do have a plotter story Bible for the whole world that we're placing this in, and I could put some notes in there for this story. I do have individual entries for different stories there, so that might be a good place. I don't have to start something new. I've been using the program Obsidian lately for story Bibles, but that's going to be probably more than this requires. So we are in our character development workbook. What is her role? Who is this character? What do I know about her? I know that she is trying to differentiate herself, right? She's trying to differentiate herself from her mother. She is very talented at what she does, period. She's a master forger, period. Her mother's reputation is good in terms of quality of work, but she did something terrible and pissed some important, dangerous people off. And now Noelani is paying the price. Voice typing is so annoying sometimes, but it's also wonderful. Describe their appearance and describe their personality. So these can be helpful in like, what does she look like? Well, I mean, I'm writing her, so she's Black. I don't actually know anything else about what she looks like. I'm going to keep with my trend of having lots of characters who have cornrows because I think that's fun. And maybe we'll have work in some hair stuff in there too. I personally love cornrows. I can't wear them. I'm tender-headed. That's another story. Is she short or tall? Is she larger or slimmer? Maybe she should be curvy. I don't know that I've written many curvy heroines. I try to think about the physicality causing some kind of tension or conflict whenever possible. Like, is she very short? And that makes things very difficult for her. Is she very tall in this world? Are there other physical characteristics that could have informed her self-worth, her self-vision, her vision of herself that could either be a conflict, a tension point, a point of attraction, that could in some way contribute to the conflict that we need in the story? I don't know yet, so I don't really have a vision or picture of her in my head. But her personality, what am I thinking about? I think right now I'm thinking she is more brash, more bold. She was raised by a very brash and bold woman. So is that something that she puts on? And I think my hero, Errol, I want them to be in contrast. And I do tend to have, I don't write alphas in general. I'm just not super interested in that. Like sometimes I try to do a little bit of alpha here and there, but I like quiet, contemplative men, contemplative. And I feel like, I just had a thought. What if Errol is like a priest in his religion? He's sort of some kind of spiritual leader in this world. So this ruin, these artifacts are of vital importance to him. And he can bring some like calm and peaceful energy to Noelani's chaos. Right? I like this chaotic. She can be like bold. I'll put this together, bold and brash. And she's going to be extroverted. I'm just making this harder for myself. Writing an extroverted heroine is a little bit of a challenge for me. I've done it. I can do it. It's fine. I just have to sink into her head, but it's not like my default, of course, because I'm not an extrovert. But I do want her to be like, what if she was like a braggart? It's kind of bold and brash. It's very similar, but I'm going to write it down anyway. And I'm getting like a female Han Solo. I don't know what that means. And what do they want? Okay, so they want to, she wants to repay the debt. Steal the artifact. Okay, I think I don't know. This forger is just in my head from the Christophers. I actually know the name of the movie now. And not just steal this thing, or stealing it, by forging it, replacing it. But she can't. She has to like do the forgery underwater because there's no actual imagery of it. No one knows what it looks like until they get down there. And then she'll have to forge it so that they can swap it out because of the booby traps. We have this sort of adventure-y goal. And the internal goal, seeking, lacking, want to change in their lives. I'm feeling like she has this surface relationships, this surface, not personality. I mean, I think that maybe part of this personality is not completely authentic. This is who she's had to be to survive around her mother and in the world that her mother brought her up in. So I think she needs just like some depth and like real, honest relationships, trust. So depth, comma, trust, comma, real, honest relationships, period. She needs people for whom relationships are not purely transactional. What deeply felt core belief prevents them from reaching their internal goal? All right, so this is when we just go to One Stop for Writers, because that is who has this information. I love this site, and she needs a wound. So I go and head over to the Emotional Wound Thesaurus, and usually I will scroll through and find a wound. Was her mother neglectful, overprotective, loved conditionally, maybe? Strict. I don't think her mom was strict at all. Her mother was a thief. So we get a good variety of psychological issues that someone can have. And favorite one child, does she have siblings? I don't know if the story has room for siblings. She is going to be an only child. One's parent was a monster. I don't think her parent was a monster. Nomadic. I can imagine she was nomadic. And toxic, abusive power. Abusive caregiver. Her mom's not really abusive. Cracking under pressure. That could be interesting. She has done this before. I don't think that's quite right, although that's always a nice one. Falsely accused of a crime. Public mistake. Raised by a narcissist. Not being a priority growing up. That could be one. I'm not sure that there is an emotional wound. Well, the situation isn't the wound. A wound happens earlier in life. So the catalyst for her current situation is whatever her mother did that put her in debt with this organization. I don't think that would be the wound. That is a precipitous event for this story. But something happened in her childhood. Her mother loved her conditionally. She was only, if she didn't do this thing, the skill that she had, something I just thought of. What if she was actually the one who was doing all of the work and her mother was taking the credit? Like she has this talent, this magical ability or skill, and she was always doing the forging and her mother took the credit. And then what if she got sick of it and she refused to do it? And the last job her mother took anyway, Noelani refused to do the forgery. Her mother did a crappy forgery and got arrested, or whatever the situation is that put her mother in debt. So now Noelani has to do this. I like that. All right, let me put that in my notes file. All right, so back over to our wounds. So wounding, and it might not be on here. Her parents loved conditionally, which gives us sort of a thing, nomadic childhood. Really, I think the loved conditionally, and that is as long as she kept producing, kept, doing these forgeries, she was loved. That gives us their needs, love and belonging, esteem, self-actualization, lies, which we also need to get. So I'm a big fan of wound and lie as being part of the character growth arc. So if I go back to my character development workbook, what she really needs is this honest relationships, not transactional, not to be used, someone who doesn't want to use her. What deeply felt core belief prevents them from reaching their goal? This is their lie, their false belief about themselves. There's another worksheet that I have that is the sacred flaw. I built it off of the book, The Science of Storytelling by Will Storr, which is excellent. And it talks about the sacred flaw. Okay, so this is, I wrote this up as I was reading The Science of Storytelling. And to find the sacred flaw, he suggests that there are these, you answer these questions. Or the character would say this. So the thing I most admire about me, because their flaw has been a strength up until now. And they started doing it because of their wound. If you scroll down, it says the origin damage, which is like the wounding event, the wound they have. So if my character's wound is, let's see, raised by parents who loved conditionally, some lies that could develop are I'm only worthy when I achieve great things. Disappointment means failure. Pushing someone to be the best is how you show love. That sounds like it fits this character. And the good thing about One Stop is I can actually highlight these and send them to notes. I need a new note for this character, Noelani. All right, pushing someone, might have a couple of these, and I'll make a project for it later. I don't have a project for this yet. Love is a tool used to get what you want. That may fit. I'm not sure. And then it suggests fears, so disappointing people, rejection, competition, especially for love. She might fear isolation or changes that are impossible to predict or prepare for. Not sure about this yet. And possible results. I tend to use that less. You can get positive or negative traits and triggers. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of possibilities. Anyway, back to the sacred flaw. Noelani might think the best advice anyone ever gave me was to always be the best, or something like that. So if her wound is conditional love and her flaw relates to the lie, something like, this is the thing that has to change. The best thing about me is that I understand that no one loves a loser, something like that. So her core belief that prevents her from reaching her internal goal of having depth and trust is that everything is quid pro quo. So another thing that helps with figuring out the lie is Enneagrams. And I use Enneagrams for character development. Found this chart on the interwebs a while back, and it's based on K.M. Weiland's wonderful work. So you get all 9 Enneagrams and then nice columns that you can choose from. So let's see. Usually I don't go and take the whole test. If you're interested in your Enneagram, there's a test you can take, much like Myers-Briggs and all of those other personality types. But usually one will pop out at me. So number 1 is the reformer. The ideal is perfection. And the lie is that mistakes are unacceptable. And that might fit. Noelani is not a helper. 3 is achiever. The ideal is hope. Fear is worthlessness. The desire is being valued. The vice is deceit. Actually, this is feeling good. Strength, productive and adaptable. Weakness, overly image conscious and out of touch with emotions. The lie, I am what I do. I'm liking that. 4th, the individual. Not a 5. Loyalist is number 6. Enthusiast is number 7. Now, if we're really going the Han Solo route, the enthusiast, the fear is boredom. The lie is I can't count on people to be there for me. The weakness is impulsive and undisciplined. The strength is optimistic and fun. Not an 8, not a challenger, and not a peacemaker. So, number 1, number 3, and number 7 are sticking out. Reformer is probably too stringent, and I don't think that's the personality we're going for. Errol might be a reformer. I don't know. He also might be a helper or something like a peacemaker. So achiever or enthusiast. Enthusiast is more fun. That's like artsy, fun person. But I think achiever is feeling better. So the lie, I am what I do. So once again, back to character development workbook and the core belief that prevents her from having these deep, like, relationships where she's not used. I am what I do, or I can't count on people to be there for me. I'm going to put both and make that decision in the future. So, I am what I do. I can't count on people to be there for me. And 3 events in their past that led them to this belief. So, one would be that the way that she was raised, like, an incident where she was only valued for her abilities. She was left behind on a job when everyone else ran for themselves when the cops were coming. Her mother specifically took a job knowing she couldn't do it when she didn't have to. So I'm thinking that whatever the incident was that put her mother in jail and led up to this, she probably begged her mom not to do it. She's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm out. Let's go. We have enough. And her mom was like, no, I'm still in. Something like that. And then list 10 possible events that could lead them to change their core belief. And this is really where scenes can come from. So, again, core belief, I'm really leaning towards I can't count on people to be there for me. So a scene might be having technical difficulties. So, okay, a scene might be Errol stays when everyone leaves, when they hit danger or are close to being caught. She meets someone who is completely uninterested in her skills and abilities. The night before the job, they meet each other, not knowing who each other is and are attracted. If I was going full romance, I would probably have a one-night stand or something, but I don't know that that's where we're going with this one. She meets someone that she can't charm or who sees through her personality armor. She's exposed to people who love each other unconditionally. Can also go back to one stop and see steps toward healing, acknowledging unconditional love when it comes along, recognizing that one's parents were only human and did the best they could, being affectionate with a partner, being thoughtful. So maybe also learn something about her mother's backstory that illuminates her mother's behavior and helps her see her as human, or whatever race these people happen to be. Opportunities to face or overcome the wound, mend fences with a parent, passion for something that relies on luck or chance rather than skill, an injury, illness, or accident that impairs one's abilities. So she could lose her ability / skill at an inopportune moment. She could learn about something that Errol cares about very deeply and be attracted to that, period. Maybe this is a conversion story, period. And maybe it's not a religion, maybe it's just a philosophy or, a way of being. So it doesn't have to be, we're praying to this deity. She could receive unexpected grace and forgiveness from someone that either she or her mother harmed. She could meet someone better than her and be humbled. So I do always try to get at least 10 possible things, possible events, and often scenes will arise out of that, or they will lead me to lead my brain to think about other scenes. And so I think this is a really useful exercise. And then finally, how does this character change? And we talked about that a bit in our log line back in the story workbook. At a basic level, she does, or the story ends with her at least on a path or with hope that she can find this real connection, someone who doesn't value her only for what she can do, for her ability, and she hasn't stolen this thing, this very important cultural artifact. She is heading towards romance. A lot of things might be able to happen. So let's see. She learns to value something other than her ability, comma, finds the opportunity for a deeper connection, comma, and maybe that's it. Maybe those two things are enough. So yeah, I have a log line. I have a bunch of character information here. Can make some more notes about, does any of this spark what she might look like, or other personality traits, positive, negative traits. I do probably want to do one for Errol as well. So in this workbook, we've got character 2, and we can keep duplicating as we need to for the characters. Often in a single POV story, it depends. Do I need Errol? It definitely wouldn't hurt. I'm not going to do it right now because my energy is flagging, and it is almost 7 o'clock in the evening. It's been a long day. It's been a long day. So we have a good start. I feel good about this, and I may or may not do Errol's, and I might jump straight into the outline next, which will be telling myself the story. So I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me.